Welcome to Hashtag General, everybody. We just been shushed by James. So no one's gonna understand what the hell we're talking about in this one moment.
No.
Anyway, how's it been going, Chris?
Good. Kind of busy, kind of nuts, but overall pretty good.
I know, it's like, I was looking when prepping and stuff for the episode. I'm like, I know that we will be talking a lot about the stuff we have, but it also almost feels like everyone's already quieting down. It's the end of the year, all the news that's coming out.
I mean, like, this is like the last big busy week of the year in terms of like big releases or big things that are happening, at least from a gaming perspective, and then like even a movie perspective. All we have left is like Star Wars.
I think it's like Star Wars, Jumanji, but it's also like the very start of award season. So I feel like here in Los Angeles,
things are starting to ramp.
Things are starting to ramp up in terms of film releases, but a lot of the films that are getting released right now in Los Angeles won't be hitting nationwide till January.
Right, like Knives Out and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like starting to hit.
Which, by the way, AMC was doing early screenings like a week early, so I'm getting to see it a week early.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm very excited for that movie.
It looks really good. I will, of course, write my very brief review and throw it online.
Right. Very cool.
Yeah, that one looks really good. And then, but yeah, no, it's just been for me. It's just because it's the end of the year. It's like the list of things that we'd like to get done at the end of the year is now coming right into the what are we actually going to be able to get out the door by the end of the year. And it's almost like we're starting to hit triage point where we're just like killing things because we're like, yeah, unless we get approval from someone tomorrow, it's just dead.
Right.
That's November, December for you. Any other tidbits or trivia before we dive in?
Not really. I mean, just I've watched a ton of Disney Plus stuff, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that because you brought this up last time. It's something we've talked about, doing a little bit what we've watched recently.
Yeah.
So what have you watched on Disney Plus that is not called The Mandalorian?
So I've been my favorite thing on there by far is the Imagineering story. I think like that's far and away the best piece of content on there. I'm sad it's like only 6 parts, but I mean they're doing it still weekly, so it's great to have kind of that weekly thing coming in. I know there's been a lot of talk about like Jeff Goldblum. I love it. I think that people, like someone on Twitter posted something about like, yeah, I don't see what the appeal is. It's just Jeff Goldblum doing random stuff for a half hour, and I was like, yeah, that's kind of the point. Like that's kind of what I want from this. I don't want anything more. So that's great. And then just like a ton of old stuff, right? I watched the Mighty Ducks cartoon that I was talking about last week.
I saw you do that. I watched an episode of Darkwing Duck.
Yeah, me and Samantha watched Frozen last night, and then we watched a lot of DuckTales, like old DuckTales cartoons.
Yeah, I've been trying to go through, and it's more of a trying to check off all of the movies that Disney's made recently that I didn't catch out. Like I had never seen Tangled.
Oh, okay. Tangled's really good.
And so I watched it last night, and holy crap, I love that horse.
Yeah.
But that's been a lot of the thing with Disney Plus that I knew I was going to do, but I didn't realize that would be kind of the strongest appeal, is the fact I'm kind of just scrolling through all their options and going, what have they made that I haven't watched yet that I want to watch? And then I'll probably go back and rewatch stuff that I haven't watched since I was a kid, because there are movies.
So like that was kind of the weird thing with Disney Plus, because like I booted it up, and obviously we've been highly aware of what's on there. Like we've been but it's different when you're able to scroll through it, and it is kind of overwhelming at first. Could be like, wow, I want to watch that, I want to watch that, I want to watch that, and you kind of get like movie OCD or like movie ADD, where you're like, you watch like the first 5 minutes of a movie,
and then you're like,
oh, you know what, do they have this on here? And you go and check.
Yeah, I've been running into that, but what I started doing was I forgot how I got to it, but on their display there was a point where you could be like, insert whatever brand by decade. Yeah. And I found going at it that way meant if I was like, you know what, I kind of want like Disney Renaissance, I could just go to 1990s and I could see all of like the animated Disney Renaissance films. Right. So at least I could isolate it down to like one section, so I'm not getting overwhelmed with the fact that like there are a ton of older Disney cartoons that I haven't seen yet.
Right. And like that was the funny part too of like seeing my parents do it for the first time, because like, okay, and my mom's not a huge streaming person. My dad kind of is because he watches Netflix. Yeah. My mom isn't at all. And so watching both of them go through on their phones or on their iPads, like kind of just scroll through stuff and like, honey, look, they have this, or like they have this, and like them both scrolling through and like having permanent smiles on their face, just like kind of going through all this old stuff, right? And it's like that's what the magic of Disney Plus really is, where it's like there's so much on there and stuff that like really anyone can be excited about. Like again, my daughter has, like Samantha has her profile on there that's the kids account that has like all of this stuff. Like she's going through it and like looking through stuff, and like she doesn't know what it is, but she looks at the picture, she's like, oh, I like that. And, like,
I like that, and then she might recognize the character, and then be
and like she knows that. Like she knows all Disney characters, right? So like she's like, oh, Mickey Mouse and Goofy are doing something, or like, okay, well, what is that? Yeah.
That's cool. No, the other thing I watched, we talked about this before we started rolling, is my sister and I went to go see Parasite.
Right, and you said it was really good.
It's really good. I felt like constantly throughout the movie, the moment where I think, oh, this is what's going to happen in the movie, would only really apply for like the next 5 minutes before it would switch again and be like, oh, no. I guess this is what's going to... It just kept switching up and running
like,
through many aspects of the genre.
So for anyone that doesn't know, it's the same director that did The Host and Snowpiercer, and he's a Korean director. Yeah. I forget his name, but
I can pull it up real quick.
That is really his style, and I interrupted you because I want to clarify for anyone that doesn't know, it's not a Tarantino style twist thing. No. It is a shift of expectations.
Exactly. I would never have called them twists
like,
as much as like.
But like someone could see it that way, and I don't want you to go into the expectation of like it's shocking and it's twist. Yeah. It's just something that where you're sitting there and you're going, oh, I have an expectation of how this is going to go, and then you go, oh.
And it actually, I would say, for the most part, it would fit that expectation, but it just would immediately be like, okay, now we're done and we're moving on to this other thing. You're like, oh, this movie is just constantly... The rules of the movie seem to be constantly evolving.
Right. And again, that's the style of the director. So if you've seen any of his other work, it sounds like it's pretty spot on with the rest of the stuff, which is great. And those are great films. Like, I really enjoy them.
Yeah, highly would recommend The Host, especially if you... Because Snowpiercer has a huge advantage in that it is English language, American actors, so the odds are if you aren't into Korean film, that's one you might have caught anyway.
Right.
And it's Bong Joon-ho.
Right, Joon-ho is the director, yeah.
I would highly recommend The Host for anyone who wants to dive into Korean cinema, who has... never really gone into it. It's a really good introductory film for that. Right.
And again, Korean cinema, like most Asian cinema, is a weird and different space than American cinema. Yeah. So, yeah, I would say it's a pretty good bridge because there's a lot of American elements in there that are just kind of, they flip them on their head.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Yeah, Host is a good one. Don't dive into Old Boy first. Just Old Boy, very good film. Very fucked up film. Don't have that be your introduction to Korean.
No, because again, that one is also weird. And again, there's a lot of the stuff where when they redid it, the American version with Elizabeth Olsen and Josh Brolin.
I didn't even watch that.
So that one, they took the story of Old Boy, but they shot it very American, and it doesn't work. It doesn't. The beats don't hit as hard because they're filming it differently, and like there's certain things like there's like a famous. The most egregious example is like there's a famous hallway fight.
Yeah, the big hallway fight. Like when everyone was talking about how amazing the Daredevil hallway fights were, when Daredevil was on Netflix, it was always compared by everyone to Old Boy.
Right. And so like the thing about Old Boy that made it cool was you see the character really struggle through this entire sequence, and you see him because it's a oneer, right? Yeah, so it is this continuous fight sequence, and it's long, and he's like by the end of it, he's exhausted and he's tired and he's beaten up and he's like battered, and you really see the struggle of him, like the will to continue through the entire fight, and that's really kind of the cool part about it. Where when you shoot it, the American one with Josh Brolin has a lot of cuts and it's shot like a regular.
It's shot like
American action sequence, right? Where. Yes, he's getting beat up, but you don't feel the struggle. Like, you can't see the struggle through the cuts.
Because half the reason that the hallway scene in Old Boy was so well regarded is because it is one long take.
Right.
But
and it's the same with the hallway fight in Daredevil too. There's hidden takes in there where he's going in and out of rooms.
yeah, where you could have done a cut, but it's
but you still see the struggle. Where you see like by the end of it, he's exhausted, right?
Yeah.
But the Josh Brolin thing, he's cutting and like he's acting tired, but you can tell like it's like a whew, that was tough. That was it's not like a struggle, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you don't have the same emotional attachment. But yeah, what else did I watch? I did watch the other Disney Plus stuff too. So I did watch like me and Samantha watched the Ask Forky segment, which is awesome by the way.
Is it?
It's like 3 minutes and it's just Forky asks. So anyone's seen Toy Story 4? Forky's like this new character.
Still haven't seen it. I'm sure it'll hit Disney Plus at some point.
Yeah. So but Forky's like this new character. He's made out of a fork, obviously, and so he's only been alive for a day, like through the movie, right? He gets created in the movie, and so he's been alive a day. And so he's not dumb, but he's just sort of naive and he doesn't know what's going on. And so it's Forky asking questions is the show. So the entire episode is it's 3 minutes and it's Forky asking Ham, the piggy bank, what money is. And so Ham has to explain to Forky, who knows nothing, what money is. And it's great. It's awesome.
I remember Star Wars Show did a bit where Anthony Carboni asked, because it's Tony Hale who voices Forky, made a comment of like, what would Forky ask about Star Wars?
Yeah.
And he just was like, and Tony Hale's comment was like, I think you would need to explain so many concepts before you got to that point.
Yeah.
He would be like, what's a star?
Yeah, right.
What are wars? Why are those a thing?
It's so good. So you haven't jumped in? Have you jumped in any original stuff?
I haven't really yet. I started watching the Goldblum one.
Okay.
But I was making breakfast and was like, okay, I need to actually just watch this. And
it's wonderful.
Have it as a background show.
It's very like it's very Goldblum and it's very good.
Yeah.
Although I was telling my dad, cause the show, it is a half hour of Jeff Goldblum doing random stuff, but the amount of production value put into this show is absolutely ridiculous. The motion graphics alone, each episode has about, I want to say 5 to 10 minutes of intense custom motion graphics. And I was like, that's at least $100,000 an episode right there of just motion graphics.
Some guy is just working on that all day.
Yeah. And like, it is an insane amount of motion graphics for what this show is.
Well, I wonder how much of it is because it's a launch title for Disney.
True. Again,
so
Disney's money's behind it. Like, look how much to spend on the Mandalorian, right? But like,
what was the budget estimated to be for that? It's $100 million overall for all 8.
But yeah, it's original content has been top tier so far. I would again highly recommend the Imagineering story.
That is on my to watch list. That's probably something I'm going to end up watching later this week.
Yeah. So for anyone that doesn't know what it is, it's an hour long. It basically goes over the Imagineers and like how their journey throughout the entire creating of Disneyland and like all the Disney parks. And so they go ride by ride in a lot of cases, but it's also stuff about like the business side of it and like how the business side affected the creative side of it. So like when Walt passed away and like all this other stuff. But the thing about it that's very cool is they have access to the entire Disney vault and backlog of behind the scenes footage. So it's footage of all of these people and all of these like moments in time that you hear stories about that don't like we've never seen before because it's
awesome.
Just it's Disney's they opened the Disney vault of like
they literally opened
movies,
the vault
right?
of everything.
So it's like it's Walt walking through the park or like walking through R&D and like talking to the dude and the dude's like, oh yeah, I remember this conversation. I like went and like this is what we were talking about and like, we went through this whole thing. There's two like the first episode made me cry twice, right? So it's like the original creator of the Matterhorn. Obviously, you know the big myth around the Matterhorn is that there's a basketball court up on the very top.
I did not know that.
Right. So the big Disney rumor is that the top of the Matterhorn is too tall for any like or like a structure. So in order to get the top, the peak of it, they put a basketball court up there so that you have to build a certain ceiling above. So it's the tallest thing in the room, right? So you have to
Got it.
Right. So like just little things like that. He clarified that no, that's not the case. What happened was there's a break room up there, and so as the builders were working on stuff and taking their breaks, someone brought a basketball hoop up there, and then they just started shooting baskets up there just to like pass the time.
Just to pass the time, and
right? And so he was talking about like how he had no idea what he was doing. Like he had to learn physics because he's not a physicist, right? He's an engineer. Like so he had to learn physics because he's not like engineers aren't supposed to be able to make roller coasters. Like you have to be. It's a different type of engineer.
Yeah.
And so he had to learn physics and trigonometry and all this shit to like figure it out. And so he made the Matterhorn. So it's cool to like listen to him do that. And my favorite part of the whole thing was they took him now in like his 70s or 80s or 90s, whatever how old he is, back to the Matterhorn and had him walk around the inside and like really point out stuff like, hey, we did this, and like
that's. Like I've been wanting to watch this documentary, but it just
for the first time seeing the inside of the Matterhorn, like how it runs, like where it is, and then had him shoot baskets on the top of the thing, and then I guess up in that break room, there's the walls of the Matterhorn are littered with people that have worked on the like cast members that have worked at the Matterhorn. They've all signed the walls, and so they ask him like, "Have you ever signed the wall?" And he goes, "No." And then they're like, "Here's a marker. Do you want to go?" He's like, "All right, I guess I should." As the guy who made Matterhorn.
It, yeah.
And so watching him sign the Matterhorn, and like really you can tell he was getting choked up, like he'd never been asked to do that before, like he never considered even signing it before, right? And then so there's that, and then they at the end of the first episode they talk about Walt. That was they stop where Walt passes away. And so it's all the people that Walt brought in, like the original Imagineering team, talking about Walt's
working
death.
with him.
And so, they've been talking about working with him the entire episode, but like they talk about like dealing with his death and like how that affected the company and affected the work. And so like that was highly emotional because like, and it's really crazy because you think about that happened like 50 years ago, and there's still it still like hits that hard, right? So it's really cool. Again, highly recommend that show. It's 2 episodes in. It's fantastic.
How many episodes is it going to be?
6. But it's an hour each. So
that's a pretty decent length for like an in-depth documentary about Disney Imagineering.
Oh, also narrated by Angela Bassett. So it's
nice.
It's fantastic.
Ready to move on?
Yeah.
All right, James. Games. Yeah, he's got that sweet laundry folding and running the show game going.
Hey man, you gotta multitask. You can't listen to, you can only do so much
while listening to
us talk.
All right, from the top, Halo Reach has been officially announced for its PC launch date of December 3rd, and I am looking forward to getting my ass kicked.
Yeah, so Twitch ran a Twitch Rivals event for Halo, which huge get for Twitch, because why would Mixer allow them to do a Halo event? Whatever. I don't know what Mixer's doing, but really cool to see them run a Twitch Rivals event. And we got to see the game run on PC. Looks great. Looks solid. I don't see any issues.
What's weird for me is this will be... I never actually played Halo Reach.
That's my second favorite Halo.
I had 1, 2, and 3, and then I just never played Reach for some reason.
It's very good.
So I'm looking forward to actually sitting down and playing that game.
Right. I mean, it still has its issues. Like, it has armor lock and, like, stuff like that. But,
I'm hoping, since it is with keyboard and mouse, I might actually be able to hit stuff when I shoot it. Right. Compared to a controller where I spray and pray and usually miss.
Right.
But... yeah, no, I'm really glad that the Halo is finally making the move over. So I think they've clarified this. So what their release strategy for Halo is, they're doing it not in release order, but like chronological order in universe. So the next one should be Halo, and then Halo 2, Halo 3, and then so on and so forth. So yeah, I'm just glad to play Halo again.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time. Yeah. And like, again, from what I saw from the tutorial events, there was no real hiccups tech-wise, which is really good, considering like there's a lot of games right now that have, on PC in particular, have like a lot of tech issues. So.
Yeah, speaking of, with Red Dead Redemption 2.
That one's one of them.
Because I remember we had been talking about it, because I'm interested in sitting down and playing it, but like there's... like you've explained multiple times that the way the game is made, it's not necessarily one you dive into, and
you either love it or you think it's okay. Like it's one of the things where again, if it's your kind of game, if it hits the right chords with you, you'll love it.
Yeah.
It didn't for me. I thought it was okay. I love the concept of it. I love the world they built. I think it's one of the greatest games of this generation, but I don't think it's fun. If that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't think it's fun. Like, hey man, I love Citizen Kane. I think Citizen Kane is probably the greatest movie ever made. I never want to watch Citizen Kane after
I think we've
watched
had
it
this
the first
conversation
time,
where
right?
I bring up the
don't-
Roger Ebert quote, where
Yeah.
it's like, Citizen Kane is the best movie of all time, but if you ask me what I want to watch, I say Casablanca.
Yeah, it's not. I don't ever want to watch Citizen Kane ever again. Like, I don't need to. I'm good.
Yeah, I just remember seeing all the news about it's like, it's out on PC, and I'm sitting going, because your advice had been like, wait, like either buy it on sale or
Yeah.
find some way to like demo it on PC before you dive in. And then all of this stuff broke where it's like,
Yeah.
the game isn't really playable right
It's,
now. And I was just like, oh, I'm really glad I did not
Yeah,
throw
it's
$70
pretty.
at them.
It's pretty bad. So yeah, I would highly wait, and like it'll be on sale for Christmas. I guarantee you. So,
Probably.
So just wait, hold off. It has a lot of tech issues, but it should be fine.
If anything, even if it isn't on sale at Christmas, it's also one of those scenes where look at Grand Theft Auto, where it seems like it is on sale at 50% off
All the time.
all the time.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm sure Red Dead 2 is going to hit the same point where
Yeah.
just like once every 2 months, it's going to be 50% off
Yep.
at some point on Steam's.
So you'll be fine.
Right, whatever. Because is it on Steam or is it exclusive to their new launcher?
I know it's on the Epic Game Store. I don't know if it's also on Steam.
There's now 15 different game stores that I have to keep track of. But
Yeah.
You know what? Honestly, as much as I complain about not all of my games are now under one system, competition is good. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I will deal with my own unhappiness about having to open a different window.
Yeah, my own neurosis.
Yeah,
of like,
if it means that we actually see competition in the market.
yeah.
But anyway, moving on from talking about how Red Dead is broken, Pokemon. I know you've probably been.
Yeah.
How many hours do you think you've put into Sword and Shield?
Not too much actually. Maybe like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So I'm like not too deep in. I've been like getting pretty sidetracked on it because there's a lot to do. And like I know a lot. It's been getting like bad word of mouth in terms of like. So like the press loves it, in terms of like review scores and like. But it was getting a lot of hate for like the Dexit stuff and the like graphical fidelity stuff. Like hashtag Game Freak lied was like trending for 2 days before the game came out, which was really bad.
Why? What all happened? Explain to me
So-
for someone who doesn't really follow Pokemon, just knows the game came out and it exists.
So Dexit was a problem because basically there's over 900 Pokemon now with all the new ones included here. The problem with Dexit was that Game Freak announced for the first time in like a decade, or first time in a long time. I forget how long it's been, but this is the first game in a long time where not every Pokemon is going to be playable or accessible.
Okay.
So like even if I have an old game and I trade one over, I can't use it or it won't let me trade it over. So the Pokemon's just not programmed into the game.
Okay.
And so a lot of people were mad because like their favorite Pokemon didn't make the cut or like isn't in the game or whatever. Again, there's still 400 of them in here, roughly. So like there's still a lot of choices, but like there is about 500 that are
just not there.
just not in there. And
Do you think this was a game design choice where they thought it was like there's just too much in there, or they just were like, you know what?
So their explanation was that it took a lot of time and effort to craft and put in the animations and put in like upscale everything to work on the Switch because all of the previous models had been made for the 3DS. So up-resing, upscaling, making sure it works on a TV as well as a Switch or like the Switch console screen was a big problem, or not a problem, but like a lot of work for them. And so doing that for
all of them just would have been
would have
too
been
much.
right, just like logistically unavailable. And Game Freak is notoriously a small team, and a lot of people were saying like, "Well, just throw more, like just hire more people," which obviously would fix the problem. Like it's not a matter of like. Well, it's not a matter of like you can't throw money at it. No, you can throw money at it. Like this is a problem that
This is a money throw.
This is a money throw at
solvable problem. Yeah.
But and again, Pokemon Company and Game Freak have the money to do so, but they have their company philosophy is very much small team, tight knit. Like we're able to control.
So they, in their mind, doing that would violate the ethos that they maintained.
Because like the reason they have a small team is because then everyone can have like eyes and ears and like work with each other, and like they're very collaborative in that nature. So like thinking about how huge the Pokemon franchise is, there's only about 100 people that work in Game Freak.
That's given all the stuff that's come out in the like 2 decades. Right. That's crazy.
So like that's the level of team that we're talking about. Of like they like it close knit. They like it like they like to have it very close to the vest of like who they're working with and what they're doing.
And so outsourcing that out to have some people would be violate their own.
Right. And again, I understand both sides of it. I understand the frustration from a fan's point of view because again, a lot of my favorite Pokemon didn't make it, and like I would love to use them in this game, but like okay, I understand their point of view. It's just slightly frustrating because they can fix the problem. It's just a matter of like, is it worth it to them to fix the problem? And like their answer is no. As a fan, my answer is yes, of course it's worth it. But I mean, I understand the mindset, right? But overall, I love the game. I think it's I think people came in with really high expectations and it didn't meet those because the issue that people were having was that with the Switch, like Breath of the Wild comes out on the Switch and it like changes the Zelda franchise.
Yeah. And then
Mario Odyssey comes out and it changes the Mario franchise, right? And
Pokemon comes out and it's
changes. Like it's good. Like it's good. Yeah. It's good. But like it's not anything special. Like there's really cool ideas in there that I want to see more of, but like the game stutters a little bit when it hits those sections. Like there's a new area called the Wild Area. Have you played a Pokemon game before? Do you know like what I'm talking about? So like basically what happens with Pokemon normally is like there's grass, like a grassy area, you can walk around, and then like when you walk around the grass, a Pokemon pops out and like it's a random encounter. A ball at it. Yeah, it's a random encounter, right? So it takes you to the battle screen, right? So for Pokemon Let's Go, which was the previous games on the Switch, Let's Go was the introduction to console Pokemon games for like a mainline series, right? So it's a remake of the original Pokemon games. It's the most comfortable. It's the the original 150. It's the nostalgic, like, hey.
This is when everyone was talking about like Pokemon Red and all that stuff.
So Pokemon, the Kanto region, the original region of Pokemon, at this point has been remade so many times. Game Freak could probably remake this game in their sleep. So again, it's a great starting point for them to like figure out the Switch. How does the Switch work? Like we don't have to worry about anything game design wise because we know how this game works. We just have to make sure it works and like all these systems function and like anything we want to try or do new we can test here, right? Like that's a very smart thing for them to do. And so the idea for Let's Go was it was a mixture of it was like the in between like a main Pokemon game and Pokemon Go. And so they made Let's Go, which is like this stopgap of like, hey, if you
like Pokemon Go, try this one, and then you might like this one. Okay, right? Yeah. No.
So with Pokemon Go, the Pokemon appear in the overworld, so you can see them. Like it's not random, right? So you can see them, and then you can click on them to so whatever. So in Pokemon Let's Go, all the Pokemon are around. So 8 can spawn on screen at once. So meaning like there's 8 Pokemon that are just like in the overworld, and so when you run into them, then you can enter the battle animation. It's not random, right? So you can see them.
Yeah.
So it made it really cool, and like a lot of people like that. I love that because it's something where
if you need a specific Pokemon,
I don't have to. I can just sit there. I can stand there and look at the screen and wait for it to pop up and then go at it. I don't have to like sit there and go back and forth in this random encounter for hours, right? So they've brought that over now to these new games for Sword and Shield, but they're calling it. There's a new area called the Wild Area, which is like a great open field. It's a. There's no loading screens in this field. It is a open plain with different biomes and different like areas, and it's huge. It's gigantic. And so as you're walking around, it's just like think of it like the savannah. Like there's just animals everywhere, Pokemon everywhere, right? And I think it can spawn up to 20 on screen at once.
Okay.
And so there's different levels, and like they're just walking around, and like the more rare ones appear, and like whatever. Like it's just a big open area that you can walk around and like catch Pokemon, which is awesome.
Yeah.
That chugs a little. Again, understandable. It's a lot of tech, and it's a lot to like handle on a console like the Switch. But kind of frustrating when you consider like Breath of the Wild didn't do it.
Yeah.
So again, a small team. I understand the concerns. I understand the issues. I'm enjoying it. I'm having a ton of fun. I think people would have had a little too high expectations, but whatever. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, it's kind of like how when Witcher got ported over to Switch, everyone's like, "It's great, you can play Witcher on Switch. Don't play Witcher on Switch."
Yeah,
it was like, yes, it's a great technical, just don't do it.
Yeah,
like,
so yeah,
the Switch is not a very powerful device,
right? So it's like the gist of it, but yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. It's getting 8s and 9s across the board for game reviews, but again, the fan vibes around it aren't 100% positive. Everyone's pretty split. Everyone, you either love it or you hate it, kind of a thing, or like you talking shit.
Oh yeah, I love fandoms when there's a love it hate it split. It's wonderful.
It's the Last Jedi.
It's so wonderful.
It's the last.
Not like I've been spending the past 2 years fighting it.
It's the Last Jedi of Pokemon games. But
that's either high praise or a curse.
I love it. I think it's great. I have it with me right now. Like I was playing it earlier. It's great.
Oh god. So moving on to love it, hate it situations. Death Stranding. Have you played this yet?
Yes. So that's exactly the same as Red Dead,
yeah.
Where it's like this game's weird. It's Kojima's fever dream. I would have loved. I've been saying this for years. I would have loved to be in the room with Kojima when he pitched this game, right? Like he left Konami. He's starting his own studio, and Sony's like, "You have an idea for a new game?" And he goes, "Yes. I have an idea for a new game." And they're like, "All right, hit us with it." And he goes, "So I was smoking acid in my apartment." And so here's the pitch. And like he'll just pitch this game. And like someone at Sony, probably Shohei Yoshida, is like, "Yes, we will pay for that game." And he goes, "Great, fantastic." And he goes, "How long will it take?" And he goes, "I don't know." "But it's gonna happen." And he goes, "Okay, great, cool. All right, cool. Here's all this money. Go for it." Like it is an interesting game, and like the concepts are really cool. The story's really weird, and like I understand what they're doing. I just don't know if it's fun.
Yeah, that was the thing you were saying earlier. Because I remember again, don't have a console, so I'm in this weird position of whenever these big console games come out, I have to sit there and go, "Well, this will arrive on my beloved PC or not?" Right.
I doubt it because it's. PlayStation's like very much behind this game.
I think it's supposed to get a 2020
Oh,
PC
okay,
release.
Cool. But yeah,
it's everything I was reading was like everyone's like, "Oh yeah, this is a really good game, but it's weird."
Yeah.
And it just was like the way everyone was saying, wanting to say this is a really good game, but it always felt like there was this asterisk where everyone the moment we dove in was like,
fun.
There's
because like so basically the premise to like strip away the weird and like get to its core, it's a delivery game. So Norman Reedus is a delivery guy. So you pick up components or whatever and you're delivering them across like dangerous plains or fields or whatever to like take it to this thing. So that's why he has the weird backpack. That's where he carries all the gear or whatever. So you go to the location to pick something up, you pick it up, and then now like depending on how much you picked up, your balance is off, or like your momentum and your movement is impacted by what you're carrying.
Like it's no longer like the old school inventory system where you have a bazillion things and nothing changes.
So like if you have a bazillion things, you'll be walking slow as hell, and then if you move, you'll like tip over almost, and you have to like tip back over, and you're really swaying, right? And then you have to walk back to like wherever you need to go to deliver this thing. That's like the whole game. And like obviously there's stuff in the middle where you're fighting against stuff and like beating against stuff, but like overall it is very much like that is what the game is. And like, is that fun? Maybe.
It sounds like it's a very, very graphically intense American truck simulator with an odd story and no trucks.
It kind of is. I mean, eventually you get a car, but I mean, like you get like a forklift vehicle that you can whatever, but like it's not.
Because I'll admit, there's been times I've been tempted to buy like American Truck Simulator because I have done really long road trips across like the Western United States. So every once in a while, I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't mind driving for a bit. It'd be kind of fun.
Right.
But at the same time, I'll look at this and just be like, really? is it really that fun? Like, what is causing this, like, thought process where I'm like, you know what sounds fun? Pretending to drive a truck. Like, I'm going to spend hours driving loads from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, and obviously not really designed or like based on those locations, other than to be like, oh yeah, this is where it's supposed to be on a map. Yeah, that's... I guess somehow that's where my brain now puts Death Stranding is in the same category as American Truck Simulator.
Yeah, it's a fun game. I don't necessarily know if it's or like it's a good game. I don't necessarily know if it's fun, but yeah, I mean that's kind of my thoughts on it. It's weird. It's Kojima. It's a Kojima game.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll hear more about it and never play it.
Right.
Yeah, that's my summary on a lot of games. I'll read all about it and I'll never play it. Let's move on to TV. So we've already talked a lot about Disney Plus, but to dive in a bit more into some of the business side of things, because that's, something I find interesting, at least, and I know you do too.
Yeah.
Last episode, we talked about how some analysts were expecting it to hit 10 million subscribers by the end of the year, and it blew through that before the end of the week.
Yeah, I mean, I told you that number seemed very low.
It's like first day subscribers, like it was hitting all the trades, all the tech press.
Yeah.
10 million subscribers first day, despite all the... Did you have any sign-up woes?
I did not.
I did.
Okay.
My woe was, it just was, for some odd reason, it didn't want to accept my credit card number, even though it was typed incorrectly. Right. But then I was like, screw it, I'll use a different card, and it worked fine. So, I didn't get, the I can't sign in problem everyone was facing. Yeah. I just was, unable to...
But once you got it, you were fine, right?
Once I got it, I was fine.
Yeah, I know there's features they took off. The first night, they had a recently watched bar on the app. That's gone now. And same thing with the wish list. There was, a recently, things that you're watching thing in there that don't exist anymore. Obviously, they probably took them down to alleviate
some of the
issues.
I know there's one quality of life thing that I would like them to fix or change with how the app works is there's a section of my trip on the subway when I'm commuting to and from work where I don't have a signal on either my phone or my iPad, and Disney Plus, the app will load and then it will just stop for a moment. Then we have a no signal thing, and it's I wish it would recognize when there is no signal and no internet to just go to downloads.
Right.
Just automatically throw that screen up, because that's what I want.
Right.
Because I obviously can't watch it via streaming. But it seems like, for the most part, any issues I've had have been minimal, if existent.
It's been a pretty smooth launch, at least from my end.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of the things where it's constantly up. I haven't, someone in my house has been watching Disney Plus at some point in time. It's not it's stopped. So yeah, it's been great. I haven't had issues.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has jumped on the account yet, but I haven't heard anything from anyone else on.
Important question though: what is your profile picture?
My profile picture is R2-D2.
Okay.
I made sure to change that right away. I was like, no Mickey Mouse or me. And there wasn't a Luke Skywalker, so I was like, I guess, you know what? R2. That works. There you go. I'm good with R2. So, yeah, no, I quickly changed that over. And there's been a lot of talk. I've seen a lot of people, the complaint that I found weird about when people talked about Disney Plus is there's not enough new content to be worth subscribing to. And it's just I think some people have misunderstood part of the value of Disney Plus, at least from Disney's perspective, because they've even flat out said, we are getting rid of the vault. This is replacing the vault.
Right.
And I think it's just, if you do the math of it, if anyone is like me, I would only buy one Blu-ray a year, and it always had Star Wars in the title.
Right.
So I would be spending $20 to $25 a year on a disc.
Right.
They would get there in 6 months.
Right.
And it's a continually accruing thing. I'm sure in Disney's math, they realize we can open up the vault and just enough people subscribe and say subscribe that it's going to be more valuable overall than physical media ever was.
Right.
And so when people talk about, oh, there's not enough, like, there's, like, only Mandalorian, there's no other, like, new shows, Disney Plus isn't all about the new shows. Like, that's a bonus to it. I don't think it's the feature of it.
No, I totally agree.
And so when people were complaining about it, I'm like, I think you need to realize that's not what it was supposed to be.
Right. And like even other, like I know there's the big complaint about the Simpsons, the 16:9 thing, and like they already came out today and said that they're adjusting that for 2020 and like it'll be fixed. So like,
yeah, because I know when FXX or however name they had, it had like Simpsons World. You could choose between 16:9 and 4:3.
So they're gonna add that back in, or they're gonna fix. They said they have. They understand there's an issue and they're fixing it for 2020, and they have it already in the works for being fixed,
which is good.
It's good that they're getting in front of it and announcing
it because this is something that I know I've noticed more on like film Twitter and some TV people I follow, where it's this issue of aspect ratios is starting to become it's becoming a bigger issue again.
Right.
In that as streaming is supplanting physical media, more and more of these services aren't providing a film or a television show in its native format.
Right.
They are doing pan and scan, like they're either cropping in to artificially make it a 16:9, or like they did with The Simpsons, or they are doing the full size 16:9 when something might have been 2.35 resolution. So you're cropping off like the edges on the left and right. I think especially since DVDs are kind of no longer going to, like for most people, aren't going to be a thing, I think streaming services and studios need to be better about that.
Right, and like understanding the reasons why people are getting stuff.
Like, you can let people choose that, but you shouldn't make that be the only way it's available.
Sure.
Either give it the option or go with the way it was shot. Like, that's how it should be. But
we've had that problem with anime for a long time. So like the original... The one that comes to mind all the time for me is Dragon Ball Z. So like Dragon Ball Z, the original Dragon Ball Z show, the Japanese prints were 14 or 4:3, and then when they were brought over to America, the American dub cut out a lot of scenes, and then they cut out a lot of scenes, and then were dubbed over, of course, with new music and new voice, whatever. And so then when Funimation did the HD remasters, they took the American versions, the ones with the cutscenes, and then made those 16:9, so cutting off even more. And so the only real way to watch like original best Dragon Ball stuff is like to find the original Japanese prints, which is very hard to find at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, there's versions of it online that you can find, and like they're pretty good, but like finding all of it together at once is like very difficult.
Yeah, it's an issue, and it's kind of like how motion blur outside of like film spaces, a lot of people are like, what are you talking about? But like you start talking to people who are like into film, it's like motion blur is like one of the biggest sins that the TV industry has made ever, because it is one of the biggest sins they've ever made. And it's just like there are people who want there to be a purity of intent when it comes to how you display and show media, and everyone can do a better job about it.
Sure, I'd agree with that.
But I'm glad that I noticed that too with the Simpsons scene, that they were immediately like, yes, this is a problem, yes, we're going to take care of it, it is on our to-do list. Because that does mean that I'm not going to sit down and watch Simpsons on Disney Plus anytime soon. But at the same time, I feel like it's going to get addressed. So when I do finally sit down and watch Simpsons on Disney Plus, I'm at least going to get it in the way it's
also, there's some weird issues that I think they're more technical, that like X-Men, the animated series. So like, of course, everyone... there was when Disney Plus first came out, the first thing everyone on my Twitter feed, I don't know about yours, everyone on my Twitter feed was like, first thing I'm doing, Mandalorian, and then I'm watching X-Men.
I got a lot of Mandalorian and then X-Men, and then I saw a lot of Mandalorian and Gargoyles, and lots of like, everyone was immediately watching Mandalorian and then jumping into some either TV show or cartoon or something from the 90s.
So for me, it was, everyone was like, all right, I'm watching X-Men, and so X-Men is pretty out of order in terms of like its episode structure.
Yeah, I've heard X-Men, that's an issue. I've also heard that with Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Clone Wars is presented in its broadcast order, which is how you would find Clone Wars everywhere else. But there were some people who had been hoping that Clone Wars would be presented in chronological order because it is broadcast or was created
out of
order because it was intended to be an anthology. It's just that idea of the anthology kind of petered out and died as the series went along. But I think where Disney really, what I would like them to do is Netflix had a playlist feature that they implemented like halfway. Like if they had gone all in on this playlist feature, it would have been one of the killer features on Netflix, but they just didn't follow through.
Right.
Where basically you could go through and be like, I want a playlist. And you could add movies and what order they would play. You could even do it with TV shows, but you could not do TV shows by episode or season. You could just do the full series.
Right.
So in cases where like Clone Wars, where it's like, you know what, I would have liked to have a playlist that is chronological order.
Right.
You couldn't do that.
Right.
Or like Buffy and Angel, where you had two shows that had a shared continuity that were broadcast at the same time.
Right.
You couldn't sit down and create like that. Here's the broadcast order list, so you can actually watch it in the order they were aired. So whenever there's a crossover episode, they actually line up.
Right. Or you could do it with like the MCU. You could do like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. You can where like they actually fit all together.
If Disney allowed people to do playlists and allowed it to do it to the level of episodes,
insanity,
that would be one of the killer features of Disney Plus.
It would,
because you could go around and immediately someone would create the chronological order for Clone Wars, where we had done our whole thing. We're like, here are the essential episodes. You could do the essential episodes playlist.
Yeah.
You could do it even further and be like, no, you know, I just want to watch like my whole thing. And Caitlin, I'm trying to convince her to do this. She's on the fence of just watching the Fives episodes, because I think that's a nice little like introductory to Clone Wars and kind of bridges the gap between episode 2 and 3.
Right.
Like you could create just that playlist and share it with people. And so if people are like, you know what, I'm interested in like Clone Wars or some other thing, you'd be like, here's the quick rundown. Yeah. Like imagine being able to do that with like X-Men or something, where you could be like, no, here are the essential episodes. Here's what you should watch.
X-Men, you should watch everything because that cartoon's incredible.
But you know what I mean.
Right.
Like, it would be great if that feature existed. It was something I wish Netflix had. It was like they were halfway there. Yeah. It's like you just had to implement that extra 2 steps, and it would have been amazing. And so Disney, please do this. Like, make this playlist thing
Make the
happen.
thing.
Like, because I would do that to death with so much content. And because you could do the entire canon of Star Wars. Someone could create the canon playlist where it starts with episode 1, you go to episode 2, it goes immediately into Clone Wars, then episode 3, then Rebel. And like, you could have everything in order. And then whenever something new comes out, you could just add it in.
Yeah.
It would be a killer feature.
Yeah.
It's the killer feature. Do it. I'm looking at you, Disney. I know you're watching because you watch everything, and that's totally not true.
They watch us when we sleep.
Well, they're Santa. I mean, didn't you know they are, as part of one of their mergers and acquisitions, was the North Pole? How else do you think they made Noel? Like, that was part of the deal.
I need to watch that still. I've heard it's
bad. I don't care. It's Anna Kendrick.
I've heard it's good. I don't know. Oh, I did also watch High School Musical.
I want to watch it.
I did.
How is it up to your level of expectations?
So it's totally meta. It takes itself it's fully aware of what it is and how weird it is, and it's awesome.
Okay,
because it's the kind of thing of like they play up the fact that like this is so important to these kids, and it's like over the top high school, like this will be the most important things of my entire life, like that that kind of
over
stuff.
The top high school aspect.
They play it up so much, and it's so.
I don't know about you, but I totally peaked in high school.
But it's tototally that, like they play it up, and they know what they are, and they know it's weird, and they know this is like they're totally meta.
I'm gonna have to because I'm gonna have to watch it. I almost started watching it this morning, and I was like, no.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the Jeff Goldblum thing. I'm like, I'm busy setting up stuff for the broadcast today. I'm like, I need to actually just watch it.
It has that first season Glee feel, and it has that like Ryan Murphy feel, where it's like this knows what it is, and it's awesome. Again, I don't think at the level production wise and like quality wise as Mandalorian or like as anything as the best stuff that we're talking about.
Yeah.
But like it's still really good.
But it also isn't. It's not supposed to be the it show. Mandalorian is supposed to be the Game of Thrones for Disney Plus, or the Star Trek Discovery. It's the
seller.
It's the selling feature.
Yeah.
And so of course it's going to get the bigger budget, and it's going to get all of the
like
attention.
this is a very nice this is a surprise.
My mom, my sister and I we FaceTime with our parents yesterday. My mom was like, "So what's this Mandalorian thing?" That's how far they're pushing this. Even my mom is aware that Mandalorian's a show.
Right, and then
they don't know.
So my dad also watched Encore and loves Encore. That's like a very my dad show. But that
feels like it's like part of like a double feature. You do like High School Musical and then you follow.
Well, no, it's very different. Like.
But it's similar. Isn't she going to places and like reuniting like the high school performers from like an old
and then they're getting like professional like Disney directors and like like dance choreography and stuff like that to like really train them up and like have them put on a performance again of their high school play. So it's cool in that respect. But then the thing that makes it great is like. Seeing like because they go through the backstory of like all these people and like these two are best friends whatever blah 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 and like when they meet they're like we haven't talked since high school and you're like that's cool and then it's like the reconnection and like it's high school drama 30 years later which is really cool and it's like it's kind of cool to like see these people interact like where they went. So it's like no,
it's weird because I've run into this the few times I've run into people from high school who I haven't talked to in years. Where it just like in some cases like the years just kind of disappear,
right?
Because it's like there's an instant connection because there is a shared moment in time that was at least up to my point. It was like an important feature of my life so far. Like there's that shared.
It's a back of the box feature of my life. I mean, like the thing that I was telling someone about was like the idea that with high school it's interesting because you'll never spend like that long of a period of like that amount of time with a group of people like consistently like enforced consistently for an extended amount of time like that like you'll never have that again, right? Because like your job people come and go all the time. Like maybe have one or two people that stay.
College was kind of similar for me, but then again, I also like James and I. We attended a film program where, by the time it was like mid junior year, how many people would you say there was there, James? 12 people in our class.
I think it ended up with like 15.
Yeah, and only like.
But again, like with the college,
we were also.
But like with the college campus too, you have a lot of choice of like who you're hanging out with, what class you're taking, what you're doing. Like you have choices. In high school, you're kind of stuck with who you're stuck with.
That's true. Like because I know some of the people I hung out with in college had like friends from outside of it. I didn't start there until the film program, so all the friends I had were within the film program.
Right. But like it's stuff where it's like in high school, you really don't get a choice of who you're hanging out with, and like. There's a lot of people that are really good friends of mine that I would consider like almost family and like really good friends of mine that I never would have hung out with otherwise if I wasn't forced to hang out with them in the first place. Yes, exactly. Right? You know what I mean? Like I would, if I wasn't forced to talk to you every day, I wouldn't have formed this bond that I loved you. You know, like it's not, it's not.
The truth is, Chris and I, if we hadn't been shoved in a room together, we just never would.
Well, you know what I'm saying? Like it's, it's really kind of.
Well, like how many of like the friendships I have in Los Angeles are born from the fact that I ended up working at a theater when I moved down here. Like it's just this weird like. And
then it's the idea of like the thing that's cool about the Encore was like it opens up with this sheriff, like this hard, like this kind of hard edged sheriff guy, and like they interview him. You're like, he's like, no one knows that my secret passion is singing, and that I want to be in musicals, and like that was my dream.
Dude, that is like, you know what? And you like be you, sheriff, you be you.
Right, and like so, like seeing him kind of open back up, right, and like really experience his high school dream kind of was like really cool to see.
That's
like,
really cool.
It's a really cool, and it's like it's more emotionally charged than I expected, but it's like really good.
Because as much as I haven't watched it yet, and it's also one of those type of shows that it's not my style of show.
Neither is mine.
Yeah, everything I've seen though that Disney Plus has put out in some way, you can see the emotional core. That is being portrayed in the sense of like. Goldblum is supposed to just be fun and quirky.
Yeah.
And so it's fun and quirky. Encore is supposed to tug on your heartstrings.
Yeah.
High School Musical is supposed to just be absurd meta. Mandalorian is the side of Star Wars we've all kind of wanted for a while.
Yeah.
It's, you know what they're going for and they're delivering on it, which
Yeah.
is, I think, very interesting that they are trying to, Disney Plus's original programming is trying to be as broad as Disney programming is overall.
Sure.
But I'd say we continue on because
for it.
there's some more stuff. So Star Wars, James. So, McClunky.
So, like,
I haven't watched. I've seen it on Twitter. I haven't watched it yet.
So the thing about McClunky is,
I think it's the most hilarious thing ever.
the thing with McClunky is like, it's added for not only no reason, but like, there's not even like subtitles to tell you what he's saying.
No one knows what it is. It's
He's
just like
McClunky.
Like I happened to get on
McClunky.
be on Twitter the first day of Disney Plus, and I'm like, why is all Star Wars Twitter just saying McClunky at each other?
And it's weird because, like, again, the way it sounds, because he doesn't say McClunky, he says McClunky. Like, it's like if you type in, you know when you type in words to Windows and like make it say shit.
It's like how they use Mac Talk for Auto and Wally.
Yes.
It's like McClunky.
It's what it sounds like. But yeah, like, I'm fine with them adding stuff. Like,
I just think it's hilarious because everyone was just like, what the hell?
well, yeah, like, I don't get it. And like,
apparently
that scene is now like a comedy of errors because it has.
It's been changed.
Well, because
it's like every single time it has come out, something has changed.
Well, like the first thing was like, okay, Greedo shoots first. Okay, great. Because like the original one, Greedo doesn't shoot at all.
Greedo doesn't shoot. So we go from Greedo doesn't shoot at all
to Greedo shoots. Then they go. Greedo shoots and Han dodges, so his head slightly moves to the side.
Yeah, so it goes. Han shoots for Greedo doesn't shoot. Greedo shoots first, and Han dodges, and they shoot. And Han doesn't shoot till after Greedo's already shot.
Yeah.
Then on the Blu-rays, they change the timing to where it's like Greedo's just a bad shot.
Yeah.
Now we have McClunky.
We have what people are saying is him just giving him a warning, like, "Hey, I'm going to shoot you." Okay, I'm shooting now.
Well, I saw one person is like, you know that McClunky is probably Huttese for fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
McClunky.
1138, which is a website that does like in-depth discussions about Star Wars. They had a joke about how it sounds like it's the name of the detective who's getting yelled at by the chief.
McClunky,
get in here! Give me your badge and gun! What is this I'm hearing about you shooting first? You never shoot first, McClunky! Because it's also like a McClane from Simpsons. It's just like,
well, I just don't know. Like, I don't think it adds anything. I don't think it does anything. And like,
apparently it was one of the last changes George Lucas made. It was a George Lucas change from when they were doing the 4K 3D masters, because when Lucas was still there, they were doing the 3D. We were going to do a 3D re-release that never happened.
And so this is part of that.
And this was part of that. Apparently this was going to happen. So this is not a Disney thing. This is not like Lucasfilm was like, you know what, let's do more.
Can we talk to Lucas and be like, what is McClunky?
What is McClunky? Or is it just like the last troll of George Lucas? Is like, you know what? I'm gonna just throw this in here. I will watch the chaos.
I don't know what. There's so much to say.
If it wasn't for how everyone is just like laughing themselves silly online about this, I would probably be upset. But just everyone's response was just too funny to not just.
Again,
laugh.
I just don't know why, but whatever. Moving on.
Because I think my one final McClunky thing, I shared this on the Quality 3 Facebook, so I don't know if you saw it.
Oh, was it the camera?
Because there's this old gif of where the camera converts to George Lucas and he takes off the sunglasses, and some people have gifted as the deal with it.
Yeah.
Someone captioned it as McClunky.
Yeah, McClunky.
It just was...
Whatever.
McClunky. Which is already the name of this episode.
Yeah.
I already named the episode. I was like, yep. I saw the McClunky stuff and I'm like, there's our episode title. I don't have to sit there and go, what did we talk about in this last episode where we said something silly and we can make the name of the... Nope, it's just McClunky.
It's just McClunky.
I already knew. So moving on. Have you read Resistance Reborn?
I have not.
Not going to go too deep into spoilers. There's not, I would say, a lot in there that's
Did you
spoilery.
enjoy it?
I enjoyed the read.
Okay.
The one spoiler, I guess I would say, that got me excited and then dashed my hopes expertly is Wedge Antilles is a central figure in this book. And they set it up for in the movie for him to not even be in there for like 99% of the movie. So they gave me Wedge and they took him away. But there was a really good moment where Wedge discovers that Lucas died.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good moment. But the thing that I was probably got the most joy out of while reading this book, I literally started texting my sister this because, like, sections from the book because it was so hilarious. They are totally setting up Finn and Poe.
Yes,
they're
let's go.
totally setting that up. I should send you just the pages because I screen grabbed them and sent them to Caitlin.
Are they like 50 Shades of Grey stuff? Where
No. So you know the stereotypical scene where the girl ties the guy's tie, doesn't know how to do it? Well, Finn is a stormtrooper, and obviously he wouldn't know how to tie a tie, but you know who knows how to tie a tie? Poe Dameron. And who's going to sit there and do it for him? It's going to be Poe. And that scene's going to happen in the book. And there was also one moment where I thought was hilarious where it was just like they're going to go on this mission, and Poe needs someone to go with him. He needs like a +1. And he hasn't asked anyone yet. And so you've read the comics, right?
Yeah.
So Sir Linda, who's the journalist on the team, is he's on his way to go say, "Hey, Finn, do you want to go and be like my backup for this mission?" Yeah. And she's like, "Oh, I already got costumes for you and Finn." And he's like, "Wait, how did you know? I haven't even asked him yet." She's like, "Oh, no, nothing, no reason, just a hunch." Awesome. And it's just like, oh my god, they're setting this up.
It's so good.
It's gonna be a thing, and it's hilarious. And also, he was like, they even had a scene where he was like, "So, what's with you and like Ray and?" What about Rose? Like, Poe is, like, trying to, like, get itchy. So, "Oh, we're just friends. Oh, Rose and I just talked about it. We're just friends." It's just like, "Oh, okay. Just was, just wondering."
That's awesome.
Just, like, I'm reading this, and I'm like, I was texting Caitlin, I should actually find my texter because
it's awesome. Because that was actually one of the things, too, where I watched Force Awakens again on Disney Plus, because I can now, and, I watched the scene where they break out of this, like the opening scene where they break out of the Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
And like, God, the joy and the elation in that scene where Finn's like, "I shot one, I got it," stuff like that. Like, and they're
and they see there's a camaraderie.
There's a camaraderie and a friendship and like a relationship there that's just incredible. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. Well, here's what I told Caitlin. It's like an awkward teenage romance, but instead of teenagers, it's 2 adult men and they're space rebels.
Yeah, awesome.
I'll have to send these to you just because it was hilarious.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'm at this point 90% certain they are going to be a thing in Rise of Skywalker.
Fantastic.
And I am all for it.
Let's go.
All right.
All about it.
But yeah, outside of like those character moments, I wouldn't have called it like essential reading. I enjoy it. I also read everything that comes out from Star Wars.
True. But
yeah, no, it was that was the big highlight for me. It was just sitting there going, "Oh, they're going for it." Like, there's no going to be like, are like, because you watched the celebration where there was definitely a lot of like play on the idea of a love triangle, and they were hinting at it and joking about it. It's like, oh, they know. They know. It's not a joke on stage. It's probably a thing. All right, next scene, Jedi Fallen Order, which, by the way, we'll be playing after this.
Yes.
Any thoughts you want to give on that?
So I think it's a good game. I think it's a great game.
Yeah.
I think it has a lot of rough edges and a lot of parts where
I've noticed a lot of rough edges where it feels like some of the game engine stuff is not. Yeah. Like, I've gotten a few stutters and
so like
weird
stuff
issues
about the game engine. I think like it's doing Dark Souls, but it's not doing it as well. Like it's taking like the best hits of like the third person games from the last generation, where it's like, okay, here's Uncharted, here's some Metroid, here's some Tomb Raider, here's like Dark Souls, whatever. It's a Dark Souls base. Like Dark Souls is the basis of this game. You can really tell that, and then Uncharted on top of that, right? Like those are the two comparisons you're seeing the most of. But the idea of a Fallen Order, like, so I guess we'll get into a little bit like you're having a little issue with combat, right?
Yeah, and it's more like what? I didn't give James the lower third. Sorry, James. No, it's
write that down for later.
Yeah.
Don't mention it.
Don't worry. I will totally fix this before it goes on YouTube. I won't fix this before it goes on YouTube. No. I won't fix it. It's more of a fact that when it comes to, I always joke that I'm like a bad gamer.
Right.
When I'm playing games like this, I'm playing for the story more than I am for like the combat. And so it's just more of the fact that I will constantly find myself in combat, and then it's not that the game has moved me in the wrong direction. I've moved myself poorly to where I'm like out of place, and I know that it's all me.
Right.
It's me. I'm having the problem. It's not the game.
Right.
But it's just one of those things where I've noticed I'm getting better at the combat. My controls of the movement have definitely gotten better. A lot of that was, and James can attest to this, there was a good 30-minute period yesterday where I kept quitting and restarting an area because because you're supposed to explore and find things, and there was these very obvious things you could see off to the side, and I kept jumping and trying to get them and missing.
Right.
And so I kept resetting because I'm like, no, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to get it. And I got it. I eventually did get it. Only to have the next big thing I did in that section was learning how to do the wall run.
Right.
And if I had gone and done the wall run, I could have gone back and grabbed those things very easily.
Right.
It was almost designed to no, you're supposed to see them.
Yeah. And then
learn the wall run and then go back. But I was persistent.
Yeah, so the game's designed to do that.
And the game's designed to that, but the nice thing about having done that is I felt like I was starting to actually get better with some of the controls, because through the the start and the tutorial, man, I wasn't dying all the time, but at the same time, I was just I don't know what I'm doing, and I was eventually button mashing.
Right, and from a Dark Souls perspective, button mashing is the worst thing you could do.
Yeah.
So, for anyone that doesn't play, when I talk about Dark Souls and, the Souls games and the From Software games, so From Software is a Japanese company. They make Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro, and so, they make a very specific style of game and combat where it is very slow and methodical, and you really have to think about what you're doing. And so I explained to you, and I gave you a heads up before, you really have to think about what you're doing, and, okay, here, I can parry and combo this guy here, and by the time I do that, the blaster bolt will be coming from this guy, so then I can deflect that back to him, and then continue to combo this guy, and then run back over there.
Yeah, because one of the things I do like about the combat system, as much as I am, and you guys will see this, absolutely horrible with it, is the sense that one of the biggest problems you would get with that, whenever people would complain about a Star Wars game that had lightsaber combat, was you would eventually get into MMO style where you are hitting macros or hitting 1, 2, 3, and you form a sequence, and it doesn't really feel like actual lightsaber combat, and more of you have the lightsaber animation going on, but you're not actually
causing damage
or choosing how to fight. This one, because of how the speed of the combat, you're actually doing stuff in game that feels like this is how a lightsaber should work, which I like, as much as I'm bad at it.
Right.
I like the fact that I am choosing how to deflect the bolts on the blaster.
Right.
That when I do hit someone with the lightsaber, it does cut them in half. It's because it's of how the combat is slow and methodical. They then had the freedom to make lightsaber combat flow the way you would think.
Right.
And in my head, I'm like, oh, this kind of makes sense, because I'm sure for a Jedi who's in combat, I'm sure that's kind of how it feels like the universe is flowing at that speed,
Right.
rather than real time.
Right. I think the thing that I wanted to get into was the idea that, like, yes, they're doing Dark Souls combat. Yes, it feels really good. Yes, it's awesome, and like it feels like Dark Souls combat or like From Software combat is supposed to feel, but they don't do it as well. And what I mean by that is, like, look at Bloodborne, or like look at Dark Souls. Like, these are like Cthulhu-esque creatures with tentacles and like particle effects and
it's like,
all kinds of shit, like randomly looking like crazy stuff, right? But I can very easily tell after fighting it for 5 minutes, I can tell when it's going to attack, when it's going to move. I can look at it and like dissect it and like really understand from its animations and from its like from what it's doing. I can know, okay, he's charging up now. I have an opening here. Or, like, I can see where my openings are, even against this like gigantic tentacle-esque creature monster. Where, like, dude, for Jedi Fallen Order, it takes me a good 10 minutes to like read a stormtrooper.
Yeah,
And like
I
to
have
read,
issues like it wasn't until like my third encounter with one of the creatures on the first planet.
yeah, or like a fucking rat. It shouldn't take me this long to read how to, or like to know, understand how to read when a rat's going to attack me.
Yeah.
Like, if I can do it in Bloodborne or in Dark Souls for 5 minutes and fully understand everything this thing is capable of, why can't I do that even quicker for a rat? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, to me, it just makes it where if it isn't clear and obvious to me what's happening, it's not good. Like, especially with this style of combat, you need to be able to quickly read what's happening.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that, you're having a problem. And like, to me, Jedi Fallen Order falls in that trap of like, it is kind of hard to read some of this stuff, and like, it is kind of frustrating. And obviously, after time goes on, like, the more you play this game, the more you're going to get into it, and the more you're going to be like, oh,
yeah,
I
exactly.
understand.
I understand, and I've noticed that. Like,
Right.
like I said, like, I'm getting more comfortable with how things go,
Right.
because I'm spending time with it.
Right. And like, that's where games like this, like Dark Souls and Bloodborne, like I'm saying, are extremely satisfying, because the more you invest, the better you get. And like, it's 1-to-1 in terms of like, oh, I'm learning, and it's very easy to tell when you're learning, because like, it just, like, you can tell right away when you've gotten something. You can feel it, right? You know you got it. And then like, it's like riding a bike, you just never forget. Like, it's just ingrained in you after a while, which is awesome, and it's a great feeling. Like, that's why these games work. But like, I feel like Jedi Fallen Order tries to do all these things, and like,
Isn't necessarily hitting 100%.
it's like a solid B at like all of these things. It's like, okay, all of these things added together makes for a really great experience, like maybe an A-, but like, it could be so much more. And like, I'm excited to see what they do down the line, or like if they do DLC, or if they do like if they do DLC, or if they do like a sequel or something in the same vein. Like, maybe not a sequel, because we know how this is going to end, but like just like doing something else with this kind of game genre. I think like,
yeah, I think on some level, Jedi Fallen Order is half, we already had this in progress, and half a test of Battlefront 2 has just, I don't think it's met expectations of either Disney or of EA.
no, not at all.
And so I'm wondering if they are looking at, because I feel like if you look at how just Lucasfilm in general, I think Iger feels like he mishandled it.
Right.
With how just the release of how they just pushed out so much so quickly, that he's like, maybe we handled this wrong. And I'm wondering if EA is also looking at it going, maybe the solution isn't to always have something coming out constantly, that this isn't a franchise where we can hit reset every year, but this is one where we need to take our time, craft something,
right,
and let it be its own thing, and not necessarily try to make it of like the time period. In the sense, like, if they were trying to make a topical Star Wars game right now, you know it would be a Battle Royale knockoff.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they could turn around and do it. I'm sure DICE could just sit there, take the assets they already have, and make something.
And it'd be fun.
And it'd be fun. But it wouldn't necessarily be the right move for Star Wars.
I think like they did the partnership with I think they did the partnership with Epic to do the Stormtrooper skins for Fortnite. Like, those just came out a couple days ago. And so, like, I think you're seeing Star Wars games doing that more often, where, like, now games are being able to, they're doing more crossover stuff we're like, hey, we can still be in the conversation and still be involved in these projects and like these genres, but like we don't necessarily need to be our own game to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Which is smart and really good. And like,
I mean,
really
look, I wonder how much of that was them realizing how big Thanos appearing in Fortnite was.
Right.
I mean, it's one of those things where how many people like
I haven't played Fortnite in, God, maybe over a year. I haven't played Fortnite. But hell yeah, I logged into Fortnite and paid $20 to buy a Stormtrooper skin. So if and when I do go back and play Fortnite, I'm gonna be a Stormtrooper. Like,
and I think that's the thing they've realized is like the Star Wars fan community is more than willing to shell out money for stuff.
Yeah.
But
it has to be stuff that we want.
It has to be stuff that we want.
It has to be like stuff that's not just a money grab, right? Like obviously the
Stormtrooper thing is a money grab. But like when it is a money grab, don't deny that it's a money grab.
Right.
Like if you sit there and be like, yeah, it's like we made a $20 skin, everyone knows it's a money grab. We don't care because we know it's a money grab. But if it feels like you're giving us a money grab, but you're trying to say it's not, everyone's alarms are going off.
Right. But like it's a money grab, but it's also this thing of like it's a money grab in a game where that's normal. Mm-hmm. Like Fortnite obviously is built around skins and like like looking cool and like being a fantasy thing and like so yeah, being a Stormtrooper where like my buddy has a Batman skin and we're walking around with Batman and Stormtrooper, like whatever. Like that's exactly what you want, right? Yeah. That's what you want to be a part of.
And that's like Fortnite right there. If you say, "Oh yeah, me and my friend Batman and Stormtrooper here are my backup," that just is like, okay, that's Fortnite.
Yeah, like that's exactly what I wanted, and like I'm totally fine with that, right?
Yeah. But no, I'm enjoying what little I've played of Jedi Fallen Order. I think according to my save file, I'm only 10% through the game.
Okay, that's a decent,
which
amount.
Is decent. And I was sitting there thinking about, I'm like, I think I only have like maybe 5 hours.
Yeah,
maybe.
So I have a friend that beelined through the story, and I know you're taking your time, but I had a friend that beelined through the story and beat it in 20 hours. So like,
and like I could see that because I have been exploring. Like I realized when we were doing our test that there's a section of the Igona, I think is the first planet.
Yeah.
And I realized there was a section I just hadn't explored yet. So I'm like, oh crap, do we explore that in the stream or do we move to another planet?
Well, remember, the game is built around like Metroid mechanics.
Yeah.
So it is like like you're saying before, like, do this thing. Oh, you learn this ability on this other planet. Okay, I'll come back to this planet later.
Yeah, because there are sections on the map where it says I don't have the skills to unlock it yet. So I know I'm going to have to come back.
Yeah.
But I also was looking, like, because you can see what areas you can access or are currently available. And it's like, they currently look available. So I'm like, we might go explore that instead of going to another planet in the stream. Just because, whatever. But yeah, I'll take my time with it. And it just is one of those things where, because I'm always playing stuff like this for the story rather than necessarily gameplay, maybe I'm more forgiving. But at the same time, I'm going to...
As long as you're having a good time with it, and like it's a testament to that game that like it caters to so many audiences. Like it's really good.
Because we were texting back and forth, and you're like, "How do you like it?" I'm like, "Well, I'm having issues with combat and movement, just because I'm like, you're hitting two things that I'm not the best at."
Right.
But whenever I play an RPG game or like an MMO, I'm the guy who wants to explore the entire map.
Yeah.
And this game is totally hitting that.
Right.
To where I'm like, but I haven't gone here yet. I can't leave the... That's like why I'm saying, like, I'm not sure we might just explore that in the stream. It's because, as far as I know, I might still be able to explore that section of the map before we leave, so I don't want to leave it.
Right.
But...
Well,
I'll play it until I don't want to. So let's move on to our final thing, The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So...
It's a hell of a show.
Spoilers for Mandalorian. Fair warning, we're just going to talk about everything.
It's a hell of a show.
The thing that kind of caught me off guard was realizing how much of the trailer was just from the first episode.
Yeah.
I
didn't think the IG-11 stuff was going to be in the first episode. And when it happened, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I'm like, oh. Also, I guess this is going to be the thing. This is going to be... never mind, they're not going to be buddy-buddy.
Well, that was kind of cool, too, because it gave me the vibe... It gave me, like, Cowboy Bebop vibes, where I was like, oh, this is like Cowboy Bebop. And then, and he shoots him. I was like, oh, it's exactly like Cowboy Bebop.
Well, it's not only that. Like, I'm watching this, and I'm getting a heavy spaghetti western vibe.
Oh, of course. Like that's pretty obvious in the way
Yeah.
that he fights too. So like that through that entire, I think it's like the he has the cape, the shawl, and then he has the he has the gunslinger. He literally has gunslinger movements as he's going through that fight. Like he has the stance.
Yeah.
He's like literally spinning underneath stuff and like with the pistol out like a gunslinger.
So yeah, let's start from the top. Let's just go kind of chronologically,
Okay.
just because that way we can hit everything. So the very beginning, the big fight where we had freaked out about, where he like pulls the guy through the door.
That's not even the coolest thing in the episode.
It's not even the coolest scene in the episode. A, B. That's like the first sequence of the show,
Right.
and it was just like
I like the twist too that like he's after the seemingly nice guy.
the seemingly nice guy is the guy who's got the bounty on. He's
Right.
like he's not there to beat up these obvious bad guys
Yeah.
who you think, oh, these are the guys he's here to take out. Nope, it's
Yeah,
the guy they're picking on.
Yeah.
He's got a bounty.
Yeah.
Just was
Also, I didn't like him at all. I was like very happy when he got carbonated.
yeah.
I was like, you're slightly irritating and out of place. I don't know if that was on purpose, but like, I was like, all right. I was talking to someone about it. I was like, dude, why? If you're the Mandalorian, why wouldn't you just carbonite him to begin with?
It's not cool, man.
I know. Like, do you think that he's just like, I'm bored. You want to talk? Let's say you're talking.
Part of me, I think it was just like this whole.
Do you think he's testing him?
I want to see what happens type
Yeah.
thing. It's like I think there was a bit of mind fuckery.
Yeah, like I'm bored.
Yeah.
Let's just see what you do.
Let's just see what you do, like, because there's no reason you don't say for him to not say anything when he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go like use the head, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
just and the guy keeps talking, and you know that he can monitor what's going on.
Yeah.
He's letting him explore. You don't do that if you're not gonna let the guy just do it. And
Yeah.
it's just this whole from like just the perspective of the filmmaking, it sets up so much about the character.
Right.
Because all of a sudden, look at all these weapons, and then it's not only look at all these weapons. Holy shit! There's 4 guys in carbonite.
Yeah.
It's kind of this whole like it's real. That's dawning on this guy if there's no escape.
Right.
As you, as the audience, are going, oh shit, this guy is kind of just
Fuck.
legit.
Yeah.
Like the man, and so I there's got to be some like boredom or reason for
Sure.
it.
I mean,
or-
like again, I just found him irritating, and I was like, all right, whatever. Like he's cool. And then when he gets last card, I was like, I think like he's not. Except my fear was that he was gonna be in the rest of the episode, and like it was gonna be hit like we're gonna get like the monster of the week of like the bounty of the week kind of thing. And I was like, oh please don't. And like they freeze, and I was like, all right, cool, we're good.
because I think the irritation, like the slightly annoying thing, was intentional. Like he's
Yeah.
not supposed to be a likable character.
Yeah.
Like I don't think anyone walked out of watching this or finished watching this episode and went, you know what, I want more of the blue guy.
Oh.
But then we get like because they've been building
We get the cool banter of him with the guild
Carl
leader.
Weathers,
Yeah.
Karga.
I forget, but
It's like Grief Karga. I think
but like his role is like the guild leader or the guild like
he's basically the point of
quest.
contact.
He's like the quest giver.
He's the guy with the exclamation mark
Yeah.
over his head.
Yeah, he's like the quest giver at the cantina or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So like they have a good back and forth. I like the back and forth about the Imperial credits.
Yeah, like the Empire said, they still spend.
Yeah, they still spend.
It's like
And then one of my favorite scenes of the entire episode was the next one coming up where he goes to see
Werner Herzog,
right, and
character, yeah.
so when the doors open and it's the stormtroopers and they're dirty and like you can tell they've been in hiding or
Yeah.
they've been like just fucked.
yeah, these aren't the stormtroopers you would have like.
Yeah, these are like
These are the rejects.
yeah, these are like the survivors that were like off world at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that, like I love that stuff.
We have you 4-on-1. I like those odds.
It's so good. It's such a good. Yeah, like I love that stuff. He gets the Beskar, which I liked. I like the idea.
Yeah, the whole Beskar sequence was really cool.
Yeah.
Because it's something that they've said, and it's also similar to... Because there's a thing in the Man with No Name trilogy where The Good, the Bad, the Ugly,
Yeah.
the last one of that, is his costume changes from film to film. So it's
Right.
kind of like there's this weird costume evolution in those movies where it kind of establishes like the time frame.
Right.
And we're seeing a similar thing where it's like I could see the armor is apparently going to get updated over time.
Right. Which is really cool.
Yeah.
So this is something they set up, and it's very subtle. Where like the first scene, the guy goes, "Is this Beskar?" And he takes his knife to the chest plate or whatever.
And
like,
the chest plate.
And then the chest plate isn't Beskar.
It's not Beskar,
right?
yeah.
So he's like, he tests. He's like, "Is this Beskar? This is Beskar." Like whatever. And then they have the whole conversation with him getting the Beskar piece and then taking it to the blacksmith and then making the pauldron. And so they have this whole kind of ritualistic kind of thing around it. But I had to explain to my dad what the Beskar was and like what it means to them and like how it functions. I don't think they do a good job of explaining that. I think it's very vague. I think it's a little too vague.
I wonder if it's intentionally vague because I have no doubt in my mind that they know that people like you and me know that Beskar is very important in Mandalorian culture. But even Clone Wars doesn't really go too deep into Beskar.
No, and like that's why I explained to Jenny hasn't watched it yet, but I know I'm going to have to explain to her. And so like I'm fine explaining it because it's something I enjoy talking about. I think it's a really important. Like I think it adds to the show to know.
Yeah, like.
But like I feel like a lot of people are missing out on like the significance of these sequences because like a lot of people that don't know, I've heard being like, oh, that blacksmith scene is like really weird, and I was like, well,
it's a very important.
It's like a religious scene almost,
scene.
And so like, I think if you don't understand that, you miss out a little bit, and like it makes me sad that like people miss out on that because it is like a really cool emotional moment.
Part of me wonders if it's because they had plans to explain more about Beskar.
Possibly.
Because
like I think you need a little bit more here just to get the significance of that scene across. Like I feel like when he hands him the Beskar, they have a dialogue about like it's good to see it return to the clan or like to return it to its rightful place or whatever. And like I don't think that gets enough across of like like and then for him to take this job that's like extremely dangerous or like very vague and for people he probably doesn't want to work with, but like he wants the Beskar, right?
Because
like,
he really wants the Beskar,
right,
and that's
and,
the thing. You're right, because I know that to him, I have basically a crate of Beskar
is like a holy
that's
fuck
a huge
moment.
deal,
right?
Because that's his whole suit of armor and a bunch of armor for everyone else,
right? And so like I don't think
because part of it is like the Empire confiscated a lot of Beskar,
right?
Beskar was historically passed down from generation to generation. So when, like, if I made Mandalorian armor, it would be made from the armor that my father wore, which was made from the armor that his mother wore. That it passes down the line. And so when they confiscated a lot of Beskar, they probably confiscated it from dead Mandalorians.
Right.
I know that. You know that.
And like it
but
also,
I feel like
I think also as a show, like spoilers, when he starts to form a bond with the child, and then like a lot of people were like, oh, he's gonna keep the child, and I was like, dude, the Beskar, man, like he needs like,
dude, it's setting up a huge crisis, of like conscience between him, because he's more than clearly not willing to kill the kid, but at the same time he wants that damn Beskar,
And so, like, if you don't fully understand how much the Beskar means to him, because, like, my dad's convinced he's not going to give up the kid. Like, and part of me is, too. Part of me is just like, there's no way they set this up and then he just gives it away. But part of me is like, dude, the Beskar is, like, fucking big deal.
I think they're going to explain it further. I hope they explain Beskar further.
But
I'm wondering if that's why they left it kind of vague. Because they have to know that there's a bunch of people watching this who are not Star Wars fans.
But again, like I think it is a little, for just where we are at now, I think it's a little too vague, and I think they're missing out. I think a lot of people are missing out on like some really big story beats and like really important stuff because they don't know. Yeah. Like when the Jawas ask him to trade the Beskar, like he gets almost like
Violent.
like offended. Like
Yeah.
he was like, how can you even ask that, right? The way I explained to my dad is like the Beskar is like the burqa or the shot, like a
it's not just armor, it's an item of religious significance.
Right. And so it is like very different. And so yeah, like I was trying to explain to my dad, and like he got it eventually, and like now it makes more sense to him. But I was trying, like, for me to have to explain it to him, and like my dad's a Star Wars fan, right? Like he's a movie Star Wars fan.
Yeah,
so, like, they've never gone over that at all. But like the idea that this is a huge part of this series, at least to this point, and like I feel like most people are missing out on like that beat of it.
If there isn't an explanation further of Beskar in the next 2 episodes, then I would say that you are 100% right, and they have a huge problem.
Right.
If they have it in the next 2 episodes, I wonder how much of it was them thinking, let's let people sit there and question it. We know the fans will understand it and probably explain it to anyone who has a question, but anyone who doesn't know, if they're watching it through, we had planted the seed in their mind that there's something important about this.
Yeah.
And that then we can pay it off later.
Right.
But if they don't pay it off here soon, I think there's a problem.
Yeah.
But moving on then,
like if they just like, I feel like a lot of people are just thinking like, ooh, he just gets shiny new armor, and like this very surface level of like what this is.
No, it's a big moment for him.
Right.
But then he goes to, have they confirmed this planet yet?
It is
because I've heard it's not Tatooine.
It is not. It is Arvala 7, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
But it has Jawas and a lot of the trappings you would see on Tatooine. But
Jawas is just like cockroaches, dude. They're wherever the fucking sand is.
It's kind of like banthas. They're just everywhere.
They're just everywhere.
But
they're just dicks.
He gets there. I really like the Ugnaught, Nick Nolte's character.
Yes.
It's one of those things where it's just like you. And you like, I think it's like, I have spoken, and you're immediately like, I kind of like this guy. And then the more you're with him, you're more like, I really do like this guy. He's kind of cool.
I think the thing about this entire sequence, the one thing that stood out to me is they canonized the holiday special, which is hilarious to me.
Your ancestors used to ride the dinosaur. It's like the mythosaur. And it's just like, we know what you did. Who was that? Was that Filoni or was that Favreau? We know it was one of them.
I think it's both.
Honestly, it wouldn't shock me at all if Favreau put it in and then Filoni just went back going, Like, it's just one of those scenes where, either one of them would have dropped it in and the other would have been like, this is perfect. Yeah, we're doing that.
Yeah.
Like, they would have been like...
I think there's a little bit... I think that's... The first episode suffers from, like, tonal issues. Because I feel like it goes from very serious and gritty and dark to, like, something very emotional in terms of the Beskar. And then it goes to, like, this almost slapstick, like, when he's trying to ride the... Whatever. Like, it goes to almost a slapstick kind of section, and then it gets into like this heavy action beat at the end, and you're like, what is the show?
It's because my thing while watching it too is I was watching it and I was like, I get that they're kind of wanting to groom Filoni to do more than just animation.
Right.
I'm not sure the wise move was having him do the first episode.
Right. It just felt off, right?
There were lots of moments where I enjoyed it. But there were a lot of moments where I was just like, I feel like there's some inconsistencies and there's some stuff happening here where I was just like, you could have done that just a little bit smoother. Yeah. And I was like, I wonder how much of this is... It's his first time doing live action.
Again, I think if they swapped the directors for 1 and 2, because the director of the second episode was the guy that filmed Dope.
Yeah.
Forgot his name. But he did Dope and like a couple other things that I really enjoyed. And so that episode is a little more cartoonish, where it is more of like, hey, here's what's happening this week. Fall in the Adventures of the Mandalorian. He's dealing with Jawas this week. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels more like a cartoon.
Yeah.
Because like there's more comedic beats in there that I think Filoni could have handled better.
But
But I think the second episode is stronger than the
I
first
do think
one.
the second episode is stronger than the first one, though I did like the end of the first episode. I think was actually a very they stuck the landing.
Yeah, I mean,
Is how I would. Yeah, there were some issues throughout the performance, but they just stuck the landing
right.
on the first
And I think
episode.
I think the episode, the IG-11 stuff is great. Not because it's cool looking. It is cool looking, and it's amazing. Like the action set piece, he looks incredible.
Yeah.
The way he moves.
I know. I love the movement of the IG robot.
The way he moves, the way he acts, the way he talks. It's great. It's Taika. How can you not love him? Again, I love the gunslinger stuff where he's running around like a fucking Old West cowboy. He has the pistol sidearm. He's literally has the Old West movements where he's sliding underneath stuff and he's moving. He constantly has the gun ready to go in position, ready to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it is gunslinger combat.
It was a really decent action sequence.
Yeah.
And then you get to that ending. And
But
it's just
but to me, the best part about it was the banter back and forth, where it's like I'm going to self-destruct now. Don't do
it.
self-destruct.
I was watching them like, because I remember all of us were
That's
like,
like
oh,
that's the most Filoni thing.
That's the most Filoni thing ever. I'm like, oh, because there was always like, we always talk about how grittier Star Wars is like a thing that you hear a lot of people talk about. And apparently Lucas, when they were shooting, was like, don't forget that humor's a part of Star Wars. And that came up. I'm like, this is the most Star Wars moment of the movie. The show is the don't do the self-destruct. Yeah. I'm like, this is like the most. Like, it's this very humorous beat in the middle of an action sequence.
It's funny because he brings up the first time and he goes, don't self-destruct. I have a plan. We're gonna shoot our way out. And so they try to do it, and he goes, it doesn't work. And he goes, okay, fine, just cover me. And he turns to the panel and he's like, okay, it's not working. Okay, activating self-destruct. It's like, don't self-destruct. And then they go, okay, ready? On 3, we're gonna go. We're gonna shoot our way out. He goes, all right, great. And they turn, and the cannon's there, and he goes, well, and then they turn back, and the cannon's shooting at them, and he goes, 5, 4, and he goes, stop it. You know what I mean? Like, it's great. It's like a really great beat in there. Even them like seeing the turret for the first time, like they turn, they're ready to go, and they see the turret, they go, oh, and they just turn back.
Turn back. It's just.
Like you gotta love stuff like that, right? The stuff with the Jawas is great too, where they're what's the egg called again?
I don't remember.
I thought it was McClunky, but it's not McClunky. It's something.
McClunky.
It's something else. Maluga. It's Maluga.
Something.
No, it's Maluga. So
basically we get. Well, first off, after that he kills. Like at the end of the action sequence, he kills the IG robot because the IG robot is going to kill. Because we don't have a name for the species, because I think Lucasfilm will never give it one, because at this point they're trolling us.
Right.
It's a baby Yoda. Yeah. Sorry, James, because I know you haven't watched it yet. So we give a baby Yoda, basically.
Yeah.
And
who's obviously force sensitive. Like
obviously force sensitive.
They don't have to tell you anything. You just know. Like,
you see that and you're like, oh, okay, this is going to be a thing.
Also, everything that thing is in is adorable.
I know. It's...
So, episode starts out, episode 2, the bounty hunters jump them.
Yeah, which also, you like this bit. We talked about this, right?
Yes, I love this bit. It is, so he kills the bounty hunters and he looks over and he sees the fob, bounty fob.
Which is something that's been established in like the first episode, is that there's basically a tracker where you could track your bounty.
Right. So obviously they're tracking the baby Yoda, and so the fob
and multiple
beeps.
People are doing it.
Right. So the fob beeps, and the beeps time, and they time the beats out and correspond it with the
theme music.
The theme music, which is like heavy drums, and they time it out so it fades right into that heavy drum sequence. Yeah. It's great. They have some great shots of them walking. He's fixing his wounds, and so the baby Yoda keeps getting up to like try to fix these wounds.
That's what we know. I don't think the Mandalorian has no idea. He's like, quit getting out. Like, I need to keep you in this thing, and this kid is basically like, I want to heal you.
Yeah, and so obviously he doesn't know that, but he keeps trying to like pick him up and put him back into the thing.
And then they finally arrive to his ship being basically torn apart by Jawas. And
right.
I've always just accepted Jawas as a thing. They've never been like something I've gone crazy over. It's just like, they're just a thing. They're Jawas, whatever. Yeah. They're around. This episode made me love Jawas.
Yeah.
Because I think my favorite thing, because so he starts chasing them down and shooting at them because they basically torn apart his ship as scrap.
Yeah.
And so he's chasing them down. He's climbing up their sandcrawler, and just the laughter and just of the Jawas as they're chucking stuff at him to knock him off the sandcrawler just was.
Well, because they're having fun, and they're also fully aware that they are in no danger.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, this guy's stupid. Just keep chucking shit at him.
And so he finally gets to the top where he encounters like 20 Jawas with stun guns ready to just kick his ass.
And they shoot him, and he just falls off the.
Right, which is a brilliant moment.
But did you also catch the Indiana Jones throwback?
No.
Okay, so there's an Indiana Jones in Last Crusade. Indiana is stuck on the tank, and they start to try to ram the tank into the side of the cliff to knock off Indiana Jones, and then he like kind of rolls out of the way just in time.
Right.
They did the same thing with the Sandcrawler. Awesome. I caught that. I'm like, oh, that's like a very clever Last Crusade reference that most people will probably.
That's awesome.
Miss.
I didn't even get that. I'll have to watch that again
because they didn't shoot it at all like Last Crusade, but it's
the same
lifted from that.
That's awesome.
But no, that entire sequence with the Jawas just made me freaking love Jawas.
So there's another moment where this leads to my favorite moment in the entire thing, which is him. Okay, we're not giving enough credit so far to Pedro Pascal because it is incredibly difficult to convey the emotion that he's conveying with the helmet on the entire time.
We haven't seen him without the helmet, and there's already almost 60 minutes worth of content,
right? And so we haven't seen him with that helmet. I highly doubt we're ever going to see him without the helmet.
Been they've been playing very coy over whether or not it's ever taken off in the entire series.
So my favorite beat is he's walking around his torn up ship. He's checking all this stuff. He's like, I'm fucked. And so he finally sits down, and you get the sigh of defeat of like the. And as he like bashes his head, like leans his head back against the thing, you hear the metal clink, and like I love that beat because you immediately understand that feeling,
right? And
you're just like, I'm with you,
like because I think that's also a big thing. As much as there are things we pointed out where things haven't worked.
Yeah.
Him emoting without a mask has not been the issue
at all. No.
Like the big thing, you would go in thinking that would be the big concern or the thing to worry about, and it
doesn't.
It's not the thing to worry about.
But it takes a good actor to be able to do that.
Yes, it does.
And so he's doing a fantastic job. So obviously he goes back to Nick Nolte's character, asks for help, and like takes him to.
I've spoken.
Yeah, takes him to the Jawas. We get a great shot of Baby Yoda eating a frog.
Yeah.
Whatever, and like you start to see them bond. Like he yells at him to spit it out. But he just
and then the kid finishes, Baby Yoda finishes it and burps.
Yeah. So, I mean, you see them bond, and like they take him to the Jawas, and the back and forth there is that the Jawas want an egg. The Maluga.
Did that sequence remind you at all of? I immediately had Galaxy Quest flashbacks.
Yes.
With the little weird baby aliens chanting rock.
Yes. And so, but the thing that's funny is like, so obviously they're very excited that they're going to get this thing, and in my head, I am thinking, holy shit, this is going to be something they can trade, something that's worth money, something that's like valuable, and you're like, holy shit, like what is this egg?
And it's just an egg.
And it's just an egg. And so another favorite part is like they're in the sandcrawler, and obviously the Mandalorian's not built for a sand. Like the sandcrawler is not built for someone.
So he's like stooped.
He's like stooped over, and you can tell he's like kind of pissed off.
And they're just laughing at him.
Like no, they're not laughing at him. They're like excited, and then the one Jawa looks over him and he goes, Maluga.
Yeah.
Maluga.
Yeah, he's just like,
and he's just like, fucking get me out of here.
I hate this. I also love how he busts out how he speaks Jawa to them. It's like, you stole my stuff, and it's like, you sound like a Wookiee.
You sound like a Wookiee. And so like, they have a good back and forth, and so he fights this big rhino thing. They have a really cool throwback to Attack of the Clones. I don't know if you realize that.
I forget the name of the creature, but yeah, I immediately was like, oh, this is like the is it the Rook?
Yes, but he kills it the same way Django does. Did you notice that?
I thought Django
shoots it, but it's the same one spot in the neck.
Yeah.
So obviously that's the weak spot of this creature. Because like at first I was like, man, that big thing, it only takes one shot to kill, like one stab to kill that thing. And then I thought about it. I was like, oh, it's the same thing from Attack of the Clones. And then I watched Attack of the Clones, and then he shoots him in the neck, same place.
I did not catch that.
Yeah.
The thing I loved about that sequence is he's getting his ass kicked.
Yeah.
Like,
and the cool thing is that he accepts his death at a certain point.
He's just like, I love how it's just like the fuck it, I've got a knife, come at me, bro.
Yeah.
And then, holy shit, Baby Yoda.
Yeah, Baby Yoda lifts him up with the Force, doing cool shit.
And I love how it's not like, oh my god, you're a Jedi. It's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, well, because obviously he doesn't know, right?
Yeah, he doesn't know. He has no idea.
And so it's cool to see, like, this idea that, like, obviously Yoda has been missing for 50 years at this point. Or,
I mean, he's been around, but no one has heard of Yoda since...
He's been in exile for, like, 50 years at this point, right?
30
years.
About
so
30
like
years, yeah.
And like obviously information about him has been suppressed and like null and void. So like, you know, it doesn't, and the Jedi in general, right, have been suppressed. So obviously he has no idea what the hell's going on and like what this is and what's happening. So he kills the thing, he gets the egg, takes the egg back. The Jawas are very excited. And then you figure out that the egg is just a snack.
Literally, it's just an egg. They just wanted it, like because the like Jawa probably can't kill this creature.
No, it's just
and so they just need someone else to get it for him. But they want the egg because apparently it's just delicious.
It's just like the delicacy that they wanted, and so like yeah, they're happy to trade these parts that are worth a lot of money for this egg that they just eat. So it's like, all right,
like this is absolutely ridiculous, but
I love it. Whatever.
And then they rebuild the ship, and that's where we're at. But I wonder, because we had the flashback sequence when back in episode 1, I'm wondering if that is, what do you think is the battle going on? Is this like Darth Maul period on Mandalore in Republic invading? Is it the Empire? Because we know that there was like a lot of conflict on Mandalore in that period that hasn't been explored yet.
I would think it'd be an Empire thing, because like he was very hesitant to go and help. I think the Beskar that he gets, they like made a very clear thing that like their Empire stamped on it. So I think that is a very clear like, oh, this is the kind of story we're going to be tackling here.
Yeah. Part of me thinks that I don't think he's going to turn over the kid. But I think a lot of that is less. I think it's going to be a combination of, I don't think this kid should be killed, and you technically stole that Beskar.
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to become for him, it's more of a, I don't want to help you, but I'm going to try to take what's rightfully mine from you.
Right. And I think I was saying there could be a moment of, here's the kid, get my Beskar, and then let me have moral high ground and go like, wait, I made a mistake, and then go, and the rest of the series is him going back to get the kid.
It's either going to be something like that with a twist, or it's going to be, I wonder if the entire series is going to be about the kid, because this is because he ran into another bounty hunter who was after the kid while he was about ready to engage, and that was the IG robot.
Yeah.
The Ugnaught, Nick Nolte's character, said that there had been multiple people coming through trying to take out this group before, and then he got attacked by Trandoshans in like the beginning of the second episode, right after he's recovered the kid. I'm wondering if a lot of the series is going to be him literally just trying to turn in his own bounty, and that the final end might be that big decision over whether or not to follow through.
Okay, I could see that.
But I do, as much as
the thing that is curious to me too is the first episode isn't named, but the second one is.
First one is just chapter 1. The second one is chapter 2, the child.
So I don't
know. But I do like the fact that they aren't necessarily. There's two things I've liked. One, if you look at the time, the first episode is only 39 minutes. The second one's only 32. Mm-hmm. And the reason I really appreciate that is that means that they aren't trying to pad out the episode to hit an arbitrary time. It's over when it's over. Story's done. Episode's over.
Yeah.
And I like that. I also feel like watching this, that they're not trying to do necessarily Monster of the Week, but it feels more like they are, like there are Monster of the Week aspects, like First episode, he's finding the kids. Second episode, he has to deal with the Jawas. The third episode is going to be something. But it feels more like they're trying to tell a narrative that isn't... First, it feels like they're trying to actually fill the entire 8 episodes with a single narrative through line. So it feels more like I think it's going to feel more like an 8-hour movie than 8 episodes.
Right. I mean, so thinking about it now, I could see them doing the thing where it's like it's 8 episodes of him trying to turn in this kid, but at the same time that could get really stale and stagnate really quickly if it's like,
I don't think it's gonna be bounty hunters every time.
It's like, oh, we're almost there. Oh wait, something happened now. What's the roadblock this week?
Well, we also know there's a bounty hunter played by Min-Na Wen.
Yeah. There's also Gina Carano.
There's Gina Carano. We know Giancarlo Esposito is playing an Imperial.
Yeah.
Of some sort.
We also know that Taika Waititi's in more episodes.
Oh, is he?
Well, like he's been. They said that his role is more significant than it seems. Like that was the original thing, and then also they have Funko Pops of IG-11, and they have like he's in a lot of the promo material. So like I don't think that they would be pushing him this hard and like making toys of him
if he was in
10 minutes.
Yeah.
So
then again, IG-88 has stuff.
Right. And like they have other IG units they could be using, but like specifically the toys are named IG-11.
So I like that, and I like the fact that with this Star Wars, they're not trying to do Star Wars a movie on the small screen.
No, they're doing its own thing.
They're doing its own thing, set in the Star Wars universe, and it feels like I was watching this and I was like, you know what? I like Rogue One. Where most people complain, I think a show like this could have addressed, and that is, I could see Rogue One working better if the first section of Rogue One, all that setup and the introduction to characters, had been in a series.
Yeah. Like, if we got the Cassian series first, and then got him murdering this dude on the planet...
Yeah.
Could be really cool.
Could have been... Like, that could have been really cool. And so I think Disney's whole thing about maybe slowing down content on the big screen, I don't think that's going to be their strategy on the small screen.
No. And I think that'd be really cool.
I think that's the way to go about it.
Yeah.
Because if for Star Wars, for like you and me, what we want is stuff that goes more in depth, that is more just in the universe, that isn't necessarily...
That's why I'm kind of excited that they're taking this approach, and I could see them doing what they're doing with the Marvel series, because like, obviously MCU is a little different, but like MCU, from what we're hearing and from all the rumors and from kind of confirmed rumors of what we're getting from Marvel, is like a lot of in-depth character stuff and a lot of character introductions and like really in-depth character introductions here, so that when they show up in the movies, you're like, oh, cool, like we're ready to go. We're like ready to hit the ground running.
They can just hit the ground running, and so hopefully, if members of the mainstream audience don't know who they are, hopefully enough is established that you can get away with it, I think.
Right. I mean,
but that way it gives answers for the fans.
Feige said that you will need to watch these shows in order to understand future movies, which is like, to me, a really cool commitment. And like, again,
well, I think it also speaks to the future of entertainment on some level.
But like, I think it's really cool. Like, if we did get that, like, say Cassian series came out before Rogue One, and like we got all this backstory in Cassian, and like we did all this stuff, and then the first time we see him in Rogue One, he murders this dude on this planet. Like, that could be so much more of a deeper emotional thread point.
Yeah, and then at that point, you could just have to establish Jin.
Yeah,
and.
Which again could just be another day in Cassian's life. Like, it's just an extension of the Cassian series. Like, at that point, Rogue One just becomes an extension of the Cassian series, right?
Yeah.
And so it could be really cool to have that through line. And like, that's kind of what Marvel's doing, of like, cool, here's all this backstory that you kind of don't need, but like you do need. And then here we go, hitting the ground running with this movie, where if Star Wars could do that with characters, like if we get a Mandalorian movie at a certain point, we're like, yeah, we know all this stuff, and then now Mandalorian's going on this big adventure on the big screen. Yeah. Then, like, that could be really cool.
Or if he appeared in another movie, you would just, like, be like, oh shit.
It's time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, stuff like that, right? So it could be really cool. I'm very excited.
Yeah. But I think my final note is, I love the music of Mandalorian, and it's not at any way. I would not have described it as Star Warsy in any way.
No, it is not Star Wars music.
Which I actually really appreciate because they're willing to just be like, you know what, we're gonna let it fit the story we're telling rather than try to make it sound like
it
Star
is a
Wars.
Western music.
And that's how I feel. I feel like this is what if spaghetti westerns were getting made today. This is what the soundtrack would be.
Yeah, I mean, like even the shootout. I'm gonna call it the shootout. The shootout has like Western music in it. As he's spinning around doing gunslinger shit, it has the yeah. Yeah, and it has like all the like you feel like a tumbleweed is gonna like roll by at a certain point.
And the other thing I really like, and I told you this before, and you didn't know this until I told you before we started recording, they're putting out the soundtracks from each episode individually as it's being released. And so I was sitting there like literally the next day, I'm like listening to like The Mandalorian like on a loop on my commute.
It's awesome.
It's been the soundtrack in my head for the past few days. Like every time I do anything remotely, slightly cool, even though in my life nothing's really cool, it is done to and I'm like yes. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see what more they do.
Yeah,
I'm happy with it.
Yeah, I couldn't be happier with the show.
Yeah,
at this point.
It's
met all my expectations.
It's what I wanted in a lot of ways. It's Star Wars. It's going a little bit more in depth, and it's not trying to emulate other things from Star Wars. It's just trying to be like acknowledging what it is, which is it's a 60s Western. Yeah.
And the thing I love too is I love that he's not like this super soldier badass guy. Like he gets his ass kicked a lot. He does cool stuff. Like, he's not a superhuman, right? Like, he's a Mandalorian that's well-trained and well-equipped, but, like, he's not perfect, and he's not just going to blow through this entire thing, which gives, like, real...
He got beaten by Jawas.
Yeah. Like, I saw the internet complaining about that, too, and I was like, no, dude, what do you want from him? There's hundreds of them, and he's coming up on... Like, he has to climb this wall.
Like, the tactical decisions he made there were very poor.
Yes. But like
because he sat there and went, they're just Jawas. He thought the same way you or I would have decided. I'm like, it's just Jawas, let's just shoot them.
Yeah.
And then he gets his ass kicked.
Yeah. Because like I laughed so hard when he comes up over the ridge,
and they just like all have their guns on. It's just like, oh shit, he's gonna die.
And it's great too. They have the beat where they pause on his face, and all he's doing is staring at them.
Yeah, because he knows that it's like, okay, I guess this is it.
It's great.
But yeah, I think that does it for today. James, let's start rolling credits. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, rate us on iTunes, because we also do this is like audio only, so you don't have to stare at our faces. You can just listen to our voices.
On the commute home.
On the commute home. Like, share, subscribe, do all the fun things. Stay tuned, because we will do a quick reset and be playing a bit of Jedi Fallen Order. So, back at you in a few minutes.